Good evening, everyone. My name is Pedro Sanchez, and I'm going to talk to you today about why you should learn a foreign language. First, I want to ask you guys, have you ever been in a situation where you heard others speaking in a tongue that you are not familiar with? How did this make you feel? Did you think that they were talking about you? Did you feel inferior? Did you simply just not understand and that frustrated you? Well, this happens very often, and the reason why I'm up here talking today is because I want to make that not happen and remove that language barrier between you and the next person. There was once a woman named Flora Lewis who was a correspondent in Europe during the breakup of the USSR. She made a very famous quote, and it goes a little something like this. Learning another language is not only learning different words for the same meanings, but learning another way to think about things. So we're going to think about things and think about language and how it affects others and why we should learn them. So, to begin, some of the benefits of learning something in another way are cultural benefits, educational benefits, work benefits, and brain benefits. So why do we need all of these benefits? Where do these benefits come from? Well, personally, some of the need that comes to learn another language are international needs, such as work and business, culture, and travel. To talk about the first one, in terms of work and business, living in a globalized society now, everywhere does trade with everywhere. If you think about it, how many products do you have on you that were not manufactured where you're living? Many of them probably come from China, from Bangladesh, from India, or South America, or somewhere where there's a bigger market and there's a need for work and people supply that need. In terms of market needs, if you think about in Central and South America, some of the fruits and vegetables that we have here all year round that aren't grown here all year round, they come from other places. Another example is oil. The oil that we do not get from the United States come from somewhere in the Middle East. The businessmen that trade obviously are speaking in their native tongue. Why? Because it also will foster better relationships in the future for it. Another work example, I'm sorry, next slide. To continue, another example of why you should learn another foreign language, or learn a foreign language in general, is culture. Culture is one of my favorite aspects of language because it allows you to be more diverse, it allows you to have insight into culture, and more importantly, give you another perspective of what's going on. For example, if I ask you, what are the Middle Eastern countries? You might say, I don't know. How many countries are in the Middle East? Or if I say, I'm from Saudi Arabia, or I'm Arabian, you might not know exactly how many countries there are, what languages they speak, or anything along the lines of the culture behind the people. Another example is of Latin American countries. If you go to South America, Spanish isn't the most obvious language also spoken. The biggest country in South America actually speaks Portuguese. But many people don't realize that. Why? Because they're culturally intolerant. Next slide, please. And who doesn't love to travel? I mean, seriously, some people honestly haven't traveled outside of their own zip code, which is why this talk is somewhat important, because they need to expand, make some more friends, have better experiences, and see other things that people cannot. So you want to learn another language, as I want you to, but you might be thinking, how do I go about that? Well, luckily, here are some of the resources that you can go through to find or learn another language. The most easiest would be is to sign up for a language class at the university, at a library, or at some local church or organization that offers it. Another one would be to study it on your own time at home with books, media, or however way one prefers. Friends are a really good source in learning languages. If you have a friend who speaks Spanish, you and them could converse. If they have a family, you can go over for family dinners and so forth. And travel. Noam Chomsky, a linguistic professor at the University of Harvard, says that essentially the best way to learn any language is full immersion, which is going over there, living, breathing, eating, continuing, think about it. Visualize yourself saying something in another language, or writing another language, or even reading another language, instead of looking at a book that is in another language and giving it the death stare because you have no idea what's going on. So I challenge you to work your brain out, to try to become more multitaskable and improve your memory and prevent early stages of dementia and Alzheimer's, and actually try to expand your knowledge. And in doing so, you will also learn more about the native language that you speak. So again, I ask you, if somebody was speaking another language to you, and you didn't know what language they were speaking, instead of giving them that face of, oh, what are you speaking? Ask them, what are you speaking? Where do you come from? Be more culturally mindful.